The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the Semitracks webinar covering the use of our online training system. My name is Jeremy and I am your host for the webinar. In this webinar, we will provide an overview of the system and give you a demonstration of it so that you can see how to use the system effectively for your training. I have a few logistic items before we start. Since this is a webinar, we will need to keep the voice connections muted to prevent feedback. Therefore, the best way to ask questions is through the questions panel in the GoToWebinar interface. Simply type in your question, and I will verbally ask the questions to the speaker at the end of the webinar. He will then answer them verbally so that everyone can benefit. Our speaker for the webinar today is Chris Henderson. Chris is the founder and president of Semitracks. Semitracks provides education and training in the semiconductor and electronics industries. Prior to starting Semitracks, he worked for Sandia National Laboratories, Honeywell, and Intel. He has more than 25 years of experience in the semiconductor industry, focusing mainly on reliability and failure analysis. And with that, I will turn it over to Chris.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Welcome everybody to the Semitracks online training overview. In this session, what we're going to do is provide you a brief overview of the session, and then we'll actually go into the online training system itself so that you can see how it operates. Okay, so let me just kind of couch the online training opportunity here and why Semitracks is doing this particular thing here. Well, as many of you know, education and training is a big business here in the United States. Not only is it big from a university standpoint, but even in the corporate world it's big. In fact, in the semiconductor industry probably spent around $3 billion or so on corporate training in 2010. The last year where we have good statistics. About 50% of that money pays for the corporate training staffs at companies. Now, many companies are in the process of outsourcing that activity and trying to reduce that overhead. And some of this is being done through e-learning. However, e-learning was probably only about 10% of this total last year. There's a consulting firm called IDC that projects that this field is going to continue to grow at about a 50% compounded rate through 2015. And so since companies are looking to outsource these activities, why not let Semitracks help you with them? So the capabilities here, first of all, Semitracks is also involved in live courses. We do public courses, 20 or more each year on topics like semiconductor design, manufacturing, test, packaging, reliability, and analysis. And we cover topics, technologies ranging from standard silicon ICs to MEMS to optoelectronics to photovoltaics. We do these courses in-house as well, and so we run numerous in-house courses each year in addition to our public classes. We have 18 instructors, all of whom have master's or PhD degrees, and they each have more than 15 years of experience in their field. So when you add everybody up, that total combined experience approaches about 400 years. So these are all people who work in the industry and are very experienced in their subject matter. Now we're going to focus on online training because that's what this is all about here. So our online training is publicly available through the website. You subscribe to it on a yearly basis, and we'll be showing that particular system. We also develop custom training projects for a variety of customers as well. So for instance, some customers like to train their own users on specific technologies that they have, or some of our customers also will use our system to train their user base on how to use their tools and techniques. And so here's a list of some of the companies we have done this for. If we look at our instructors that teach our live classes also function as our content providers for our online training system. And so here is a list of our instructors right here. You can see that we've got a variety of different topics covered, from technology topics through photovoltaics to silicon ICs, covering things like processing, packaging, reliability, and so on here. So a number of different instructors. Again, many of these people have PhDs, and they all have master's degrees at least, and they're very experienced in the industry. Here's a list of some of the courses we offer, and we are moving and migrating constantly this material into our online training system. And so you see here some of the topics that are here. Here is the second page showing some of our other courses that we offer as well. Again, a wide variety of courses that we run. Some of these we run each year. Some of them they may be on a less frequent basis, or more on an in-house opportunity if people want them there. In terms of online courses, we also sometimes will do what we would call live synchronous online courses. These would be done through GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar like we're doing right now. This allows us to do interactive training sessions for smaller groups, or we can also use GoToWebinar like we are now for larger audiences where you need a more controlled delivery. We've also experimented some with some of the next generation technologies like Cisco telepresence to have a more rich training environment, and expect to see more of that in the future. Looking more toward our online course content, here are some of the major topic areas that we have in the system. So that includes things like chip technology, testing, we've got device physics, failure analysis, packaging technology, process integration, reliability, wafer processing, and more topics are being uploaded every month. If we look at our online or e-learning capabilities, our online training systems sit in a server farm. We use 2 online training servers. They're quad-core Xeon processors that have high-speed interfaces out onto the internet. We have a custom online training database and interface. This was developed using something called the LAMP model. So Linux is the operating system. Apache is the web server software. We use MySQL for the database. And the coding is based on PHP. We've got online registration and payment systems that are integrated with our training servers, so you can sign up through our shopping cart. It will turn around and give you a key that allows you to get in and set up an account and get going immediately. We're also working on integration with discussion forums so that we can be better prepared to do courses where the students might want to interact with each other. That's likely to become more important in the future as we have more discussion around topics where we have portable learning credentials that are passed around. If we look at a diagram of the site, our users would access through their web browser on a secure link on the open internet. Our content providers generate material using, in general, the Microsoft Office suite, and that upload interface occurs directly through Semitracks. That material gets loaded into our database and web servers here, where they then serve up the content to our users. If we look at the user interface briefly here, you'll see it looks something like this. So this gives you kind of a basic idea. The main interface shows up, and then you can click on the courses. That brings up a secondary pop-up window where the course itself will play. Right now, most of those courses are in Flash-based formats. There's also material in the system that is static, that's document-based. That all is in PDF format. In the future, we'll probably also utilize HTML5, which is a new standard for delivery to allow for delivery on more platforms, for instance, on tablet-based computers like iPads. So just to summarize here, before we get into showing the system, we provide expert instruction for the electronics industry. Our instructors are well educated and have years of experience, and we're really the leader here in online training for both microsystems and microelectronics. And we're working at the leading edge to bring about the next generation methods for online training. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to switch over to our online training system so that you can get an idea of how it works. Now, to sign into the system, you can either go over here and simply type in training.semitracks.com up here in the browser window, or if you want to, you can also go over here and click on online training. It will bring you over here to this point, and as a returning member, you could click here as well, and it would bring you into the system. Also, if you're interested in signing up for an account, you can do so by clicking on this link right here. That will take you to our shopping cart where you can then sign up for access to the system. Let's get over here now into the system so that you can see how this works. So the first thing you're going to be presented with here is a login screen. And that login screen here gives you your username and password. So I'm going to type in my username here, and I'll type in my password. The system also uses an image recognition field to provide additional security, and so you'll see that. If you need to, you can also get a new image in case this image isn't particularly visible. So let's say, for instance, I'm not able to read this clearly. I could click on a new image. Maybe this is more clear for me, and I can then type in this as well to get into the system. Okay, now that we're in the system, let's show some of the features that are in here. First of all, when we're in the system here, you'll see that there's a section here on your profile and then on online training as well. You can also click over here on a main menu where you can, for instance, print the page if you wanted to. You can also go over here to your profile as well and go over here to online training here. And there are some features here where you can, for instance, change your password, or if you want to, you could customize your settings. There's also a tab over here for favorites if you wanted to, for instance, bookmark a page so that you could easily come back to it. You could do so over here and create the link that you wanted. Let's go ahead and go into the online training system here, and you do that by clicking on this icon here. Once we're over into the online training, what I'd like to do here is, first of all, kind of explain the home page here. When you come into the system, you come into this workspace that's called Online Training Overview. And the Online Training Overview gives you some basic information about our system and how it works here. So the descriptions up here talk about the kind of materials that are in the system. Also, if you're new to the system here, you are going to want to make sure that you look at the necessary system requirements here. You're going to need an Adobe Flash Player plugin for your browser. You'll also probably want the Adobe Reader as well so that you can look at the PDF files. If you are going to listen to the presentations and you're around other people, obviously you may want headphones, or if you're by yourself, you could just simply use speakers in your computer. You'll also need an internet connection speed of at least 256 kilobits per second in order to view these. We'd recommend a little bit faster, but that level will give you access to the system without too many problems. And finally, you'll need to disable pop-up blockers. Some people will add as additional security pop-up blockers into their software. and these will interfere with the window popping up. And so you'll need to make sure that for this site you disable the pop-up blockers. Finally, in order to show how to use the system, there is a presentation down here called How to Navigate Our System. And it'll essentially talk about many of the topics that I'm showing you or discussing with you today, so that if you're to sign up with the system, you can get back in and listen to this presentation here, and it will describe how to use the system like I'm doing right now. Okay, well, let's go over to a particular workspace so we can look at some content now. So I'm going to go over here to the failure mechanisms workspace here. So in this workspace here, we have different activities that are available in here. So we've got over here an introduction to failure mechanisms here. We've got failure mechanism categories that are in the system here. And then we've got different topics that are showing up in here. So we've got intermetallic degradation, gate oxide breakdown, so on and so forth here. So you can see various failure mechanisms that are in the system here. So if we want to, we can click on a particular area here. So let's say, for instance, we're interested in, say, package level failure mechanisms. We can go over here and it will give us the various course activities that are associated with this particular topic here. So for instance, under package level failure mechanisms here, we've got topics ranging from moisture and corrosion to thermal degradation to thermal mechanical stress. And so these are the individual courses that we can watch in here. In addition, over here on the side, you can see we've got a section for documents. Those documents over here are PDF files that you can download and look at. If you roll a cursor over this, it'll give you a preview that you can see for the chapter headings in this particular topic area. And so again, these are files that we can download. So let's say, for instance, we're interested in electromigration here. We can open that file and it will bring up that particular topic here so that we can read about it offline if we want to. So this is a good way to kind of do some traditional type of learning in this environment. So let me close this out, back over here to our interface. We also have a section over here on videos as well. And so we can go over here. In this particular section, we don't have any videos in here, but I'll show some other ones where we do. And then we also have discussion forums as well that are in the system. Okay, so let's go back over here now to the failure mechanism category. So I'm going to go over here to a gate oxide breakdown. And what we're going to do here is, in order to show you how the individual presentations work here, what I'm going to do here is launch a presentation. Now, when I launch a particular presentation here, the narrator is going to start speaking. So I'm going to make some comments here before we get down into this. So in this particular system here, you're going to see the system as it launches here. It's going to load and it will buffer, and then the narrator will start speaking. I'm going to let the presentation run for a short period of time so that you can see what this looks like here. And then I'll stop it, and then we'll I'll have some additional comments to say about the presentation and how they work. Okay, so right now it's loading and buffering.
Hello, I'm your narrator, Jeremy Minaguchi. In this section, we will discuss the physical models associated with oxide breakdown. This subject is very interesting because it has generated heated discussions between scientists at the major reliability physics conferences. Here are the four models that scientists commonly use for oxide breakdown. For completeness' sake, we will briefly discuss the bandgap ionization model that is used for thick oxides. There's the anode hole injection, or 1E model. This was developed by researchers at the University of California at Berkeley. The third model is the hydrogen release, or the V model. This model was developed by IBM scientists who speculated that energetic electrons traveling through the oxide collided with atoms, releasing hydrogen into the oxide. The hydrogen then diffuses into the oxide, causing a defect to form. Remember that quantum mechanical tunneling means
Okay, what I'm going to do now is describe the interface a little bit here so that we can see how this works. So you notice down here there's a start and stop button here. If we want, we can also forward, say, to the next
for
slide
many
here.
years.
We pause it again so the narrator isn't talking right now. So we can go forward and backward with these buttons and skip over particular slides. You'll also see over here on the left-hand side, the slides that we viewed are shown in blue, whereas the slides that we have not seen yet are still in black. And so we can see the titles of the slides. So this allows us, for instance, to go down to a particular topic. So let's say, for instance, we're interested more in the power law model associated with oxide breakdown. Well, we could skip directly to that using that button over there. We could go directly to it and bring that up. Another thing that we can do is we can view the slides in thumbnail format. In thumbnail format, we can see the figures. So for instance, if there was a figure that stuck out to you, you could view this again. Also, another important feature is the notes feature. So for those of you for whom English is not your first language, this works very well because you can follow on along with what the narrator is saying right over here. This text that's over here follows exactly what the narrator is saying. And so this serves two purposes. One, it's going to allow you to be able to more easily follow along if English is not your first language. And also, it's going to allow us to do some searches in the system in a more profound way. So for instance, not only can we search on text that's on the slides, but also a search in here will search on anything that the narrator is saying in here. So we could go over here, for instance, to search and search on a particular term in here. And you can search on both the slide text and the slide notes to see where that shows up. And so we can see, for instance, when I type on the term percolation here, which is a particular theory that's associated with oxide breakdown, it brings up slides that are associated with that particular topic. In addition to this, we also have sections here where you can see the biography of the content provider here. In this case, it's John Suley, a research scientist who works at NIST. And also, if you want to, you can email this particular person as well if you've got questions. And so you can click right here. This would launch your email browser, and then your browser, your email program, and then you could then email this person, for instance, if you had a question on a particular topic. One other feature I'd like to point out here is that this window is expandable or contractible depending on what you're doing. So for instance, I can expand it out if I'd like to see this in a higher resolution, or if I need to keep other things open on my window because I'm, for instance, looking at this, but say keeping track of something else, I can certainly shrink this down so that it's taking up less real estate as well. There's also different configurations as well. If you, for instance, just want to see the slides, you can do this. There's different ways to view this interface here. So this is the presentation and how it works here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of this here so that we can talk about some other things here. One thing that I want to talk about here is this section over at the side. Notice that after we watched a portion of this presentation, it shows how much of this presentation we viewed. In this case, we viewed 13% of it here, so we're still incomplete. We've not done all of the presentation yet, and so it shows. Notice that we also have an overall progress for this particular course as well. So there are 4 particular items in here, and so far we've only gone through a total of 3% of it based on the fact we've only covered 13% of this one activity here. The next thing that I'd like to do here is show you our quizzes. Our quizzes are in the system. These allow you to review a topic and learn about it here. So you can bring these up and answer the questions as you go through. So this will give you the ability to kind of check your knowledge and see if you're retaining what we were talking about in this particular quiz. So as you answer them here, you'll get feedback on whether or not you're correct here, and so on. And so we can go through here and look at what's going on here. And if we were to work clear through the quiz here, it would go on ahead and present all the questions to us and then either give us a passing or a failing grade depending on what we were able to answer correctly. Typically, the quizzes are 80% or greater is pass, less than 80% would be a not passing grade. Okay, so anyway, that is how the system works here. Let me go back over here to a different interface here. I'm going to go back up to a different level here. Some other things to point out in here in our discussion forums. Some of the discussion forums are in the system. Right now, we're still working to upgrade these. Right now, in order to do this, you would have to log in with your same username and password that you have for the system. In addition, up here, we've got terms and definitions that show up in the system that you can see here. So for instance, here are some of the terms and definitions that are in the system, and you can see they're broken down by letter that are in here. So these are available mainly to help in terms of search as well, and that is the next feature that I want to talk about. So let me get back over here to our packaging technology section here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search on the term delamination here. And so what I can do here is I can search either within this workspace or within all workspaces. So let's search here and see what we get. Okay, so when I search here, what I see is that in this particular workspace, these are the files and presentations that contain the term delamination. And so this allows me then to go right into a particular presentation that would help me out with this term. And so that can be very useful if you're using the system as a way to help you, for instance, problem solve. You might have an issue at your company and need some information on how to solve it or get around some issue. And you can use the system as a problem-solving aid because you can get in here and search on particular things and go in and quickly learn about something. So we could, for instance, launch and go directly into this particular presentation to see what was going on here. If I want, I can also search on all workspaces. And so when I search on all workspaces, as you can see, the list of presentations that contain or documents that contain delamination is quite a bit longer here. And so this can help you with a more extended search of the entire system. Okay, so that provides you with an overview of the system here. There's one final thing that I wanted to talk about here. Let's go back up to main menu here and go over to your profile here. Over in your profile, if you want to, you can view and update your personal information. So this is my information that is in the system. You can also, if you want to, let's go back up a level here. If I wanted to, I could go in here and I could change my password if I wanted to do that. And also I could go over here and manage my favorites if I wanted to. I could go in here and, for instance, add an item if I wanted to do this. Okay, so that provides an overview of the system here. What I'd like to do now is stop and see if there are any questions that people might have. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jeremy to see if there are any questions.
Thanks, Chris. I don't see any questions yet, so we'll take a minute or two to allow you to type any questions that you might have about what we just covered today. Okay, one question that I have here is there a way to print slides for offline reference?
So is there a way to print slides for offline reference?
Yes.
Currently in the system, let's go over here. I do not believe we can do this, but let me check here and see. Let's go into a particular presentation here. So let's get over into something and launch it. Another feature here that'll help me describe this. If you want to, the system will remember where you left off. You can begin where you left off, or you can begin again where you started. So we're going to start at the beginning here. So over at this particular point here, we've got this interface here. So let me see if there are the ability to do anything else here.
Mechanical behavior of
the system here. I believe the answer is no for printing slides for offline use in the system here.
Okay,
so the answer is no.
Okay, are there any additional questions before we close today? Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, we hope that this webinar has been informative for you. And if you have any questions later on, please feel free to email us at support@semitracks.com. Thank you all for joining us today, and have a nice day.